Have you been feeling over the last year that change is coming into your life and you don't know where you're going yet, or even exactly what the changes are or what they look like from an outside perspective? Nevertheless, you feel inside you that the change is afoot. Big transformations are happening in all our lives with the mini grand trine between the outer planets, a very rare formation. And this week we have one of the exact aspects within that longer term formation, and that is a sextile between Saturn and Uranus. It's very rare in itself, and it's part of this even rarer mini grand trine formation that is changing everything up in our worlds. In this video, I'm going to talk about what that means for you in your life. According to your rising sign or your sun or moon sign, what parts of your life are Saturn and Uranus affecting and bringing the change to, and allowing you to build things for the future in practical and innovative ways. Hello everybody, my name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar, and in this video we are going to talk about the Saturn-Uranus sextile that is forming for the third and last time since it started last year in its exact formation, part of these other big things that are happening between the outer planets. I am based in New Zealand, but the astrology I talk about is for the whole world using Western tropical astrology. And for Australia and for New Zealand, I make calendars like this one. So this is a 2026 copy of the Aotearoa Sun and Moon calendar. You can also buy an Australian Sun and Moon calendar. So in this video, we'll look at the exact placement of Saturn and Uranus and what they both mean in astrology, what they symbolize, and the new beginnings that could come out of this, and the developments in these bigger picture changes going on. So let's get into that. So Saturn and Uranus are forming part of this mini grand trine, this isosceles triangle, with Saturn and Neptune at the apex, leading up to their conjunction at the end of February at 0 degrees of Aries. Okay, so Saturn is a big player in all of this, but the even bigger players in some ways are the slower moving planets of Uranus, which is sextile to Neptune and Saturn, and Pluto, very, very slow moving, which is sextile to Uranus and to Saturn and Neptune, and Uranus and Pluto are in a trine. All of this has not been seen in thousands of years. Like the software that I use, AstroSeek, it doesn't go back far enough to find another time that there was this triangle formed with Saturn and Neptune at the peak and Uranus and Pluto out to the side on the other corners. All right, so the sextiles and trines formed by this mini grand trine, they are supportive of change and developments that will be developing things for the whole world, and certainly for your life in terms of big long-term stories and themes and new ways of doing things and new understandings about the world and yourself and all parts of your life. Okay, but specifically in this video, I'm talking about Saturn and Uranus forming one of the exact aspects, and that is a sextile. So this began in 2025, all right? And the very first time that it happened in 2025 was on the 5th of April last year. And this was one of the earlier aspects of the mini grand trine. And on the 20th of January, we have the last of the three. The other one was on the 12th of August. So 20th of January 2026, that is the last time these two will go into that sextile. The sextile is a supportive aspect for change, for taking action towards change that is where it's new developments in your life, and where you take the action, you tend to be supported when it is a sextile. All right. Okay, so we're going to go more into what these two mean, but what I wrote in the calendar, so I make this calendar, as I mentioned in the introduction, for Australia and New Zealand. And these are the words I used from the calendar. Saturn sextile Uranus, support for building realistic and innovative structures that help social causes, actually, all right? And I could have added there for the future, very future focused with both of these. Saturn is about moving things forward, but being very realistic and pragmatic, and often having to accept no, or the no, that you can't always move things forward the ways that you like. It has restrictions and limitations, but it's about being practical and building for the future. Uranus is about building for the future in very quick, fast, innovative, sudden, disruptive ways, even revolutionary ways. Okay, there's nothing slow about Uranus. It's about something new comes in that changes everything up. And it's very, it's authentic, it's awakening, it's disruptive, and it helps us to it helps us to go closer to, and to develop the next step, like to be innovative and progressive. Okay, so let's look a bit more about that. These two had a conjunction way back in 1988. All right, that's when they came together. Then they had their opening sextile in 1996 to 1997. Then they went into a square in 1999 until, and then a trine, and then an opposition, and then this is their final closing sextile, 2025 to 2026, and their next conjunction and a new beginning for these two will be in 2032. Okay. So Saturn brings the boundaries, the restrictions, the rules, the need to be pragmatic and sensible, to work hard, to be disciplined, and to do things in a steady, step-by-step way for future growth, but within the boundaries and restrictions and the rules from the authorities or from our inner authority. Okay. Uranus is about thinking of new and innovative ideas that connect a whole lot of things that you wouldn't even think would be connected, and Uranus can bring together all of that, and you suddenly have this idea that you can move ahead with in a progressive way. And often these progressive ideas involve a lot of technology and new technology, and often they provide large scale solutions for large scale humanitarian problems. All right. Uranus can also be about the people, the masses, and grassroots movements and revolution, because Uranus demands things to be fair with devolved power, everybody having their own power and individuality and not being so repressed. And there's a revolutionary energy about it. Saturn is more about the top-down hierarchy, and Uranus is about the devolved power across everybody. But in this sextile aspect, we are supported to bring these two differences together. And in a lot of ways, these two are they're okay with each other. Okay. So I've got some keywords here. I'm going to read them out. Okay. There's respect for tradition and there's respect for innovation when we bring these together. So I'll read these keywords like a list. You can read them on the screen there. Serious rebellion. Long awakening. Long being the Saturn, Uranus being the awakening. Innovation that's built to last. Slow change. Uranus is very much about change. Saturn makes it slow. Changes of traditions. So we're questioning the old traditions. Mechanical inventions. Saturn would be about physical things, the mechanical side of things. Old things repurposed creatively. New ideas for caring for the earth, especially as Uranus is still just in Taurus. Okay, and Taurus is a sign of the earth. Old and young coming together, the old being Saturn, Uranus being about the new and the young. Quirky and traditional, some quirky retro styles might come in again, like steampunk, for example. Grandma core in terms of styles. Classic quirky. Okay, so I got a little into the style ideas at the end there. So thinking about those two energies and how they might be playing out in your life. Saturn with its realism, pragmatism, its ability to work hard and accept the rules and restrictions of the context that you're in. And Uranus with its innovation, its drive for change, and its desire for equality and solutions that help everybody and the expression of individuality. So where in your life, what kind of changes do you want to bring in that are innovative but also well structured and working within the bounds and the rules, like your local council rules and regulations that you have to meet and getting your consents? That's the Saturn side. But what is the innovation that you can do within that? What are the innovations that you can bring in your life with technology or new, maybe even crazy feeling ways of doing things, but you can do it in a realistic way and you're building for the long term slowly and steadily. So in the all signs breakdown, I will talk about each sign and where in your life some of these might especially play out, where Uranus is sitting in your chart and where Saturn is sitting in your chart. If you are Taurus, sun, moon or rising, but especially Taurus rising, Saturn is in your 11th house and of Pisces for this final sextile with Uranus on the 20th of January 2026. And this is an energy that's been going on through 2025 and through the beginning of this year 2026. Saturn has been helping you over the last 2 or 3 years to be sensible and practical and to think for the long term and to restructure your long-term goals and visions for the future. Neptune there also has been helping you with that envisioning. It's also a house of your long-term, of your gains and rewards from your career or your work, and it's a house of the groups of people that you belong to and friendship groups and organizations, large groups of people. There's been restructuring there. And then Uranus through your first house this last 7 years, and with this final major aspect with Saturn. Uranus, wow, you have had so much disruption and change and awakening and the desire to change things up, to become more living a life that's authentic and truthful for you, Taurus. And this final sextile is going to help you with that. It's going to help you make plans for the future and your long-term goals that you want for your life and who you are in the world. This is affecting everything in your life with Uranus in your first house. Once Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini, that might be a relief because you've just had so much disruptive change and feelings of rebellion and needing to freshen things up coming from the inside. Saturn will help you to be sensible about these final bursts of change that you might be going through at the moment. So all the best for that, Taurus. Great awakening for you over the last 7 years, and with this final sensible influence from Saturn as well. So please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 Sun and Moon calendar. There's an Australian edition and an Aotearoa edition of the calendar. If you are Gemini, sun, moon or rising, but especially Gemini rising, the Saturn-Uranus sextile becomes exact for the final of 3 times, so affecting us through the beginning of 2026 in Pisces and Taurus. Pisces, Gemini, is your 10th house of career. You've had Saturn going through there for 2 or 3 years, helping you to restructure to be very sensible, and in some ways feeling quite limited, restricted, and dull even in your career. And then Uranus has been in your 12th house. That's been bringing innovation and change to the areas of life where you retreat from the world. And this can be to do also with where you go into imaginative zones, visioning for the future, escaping from reality, and maybe imagining anything for your life. But the 12th house can also be about spiritual connection, like where you think about your place in the universe. And that's been really disruptive over the last 7 years. The 12th house can also be about places where you're away from the world, so that is hospitals or care homes, and maybe there's been disruptive influences in those areas. It can also be about addictions or where we escape too much from the world. So there's been a lot of disruption there, and a drive to become more authentic, like the ways that you escape from the world or the ways that you connect to spirituality. Are they authentic to you? Saturn and Uranus in sextile will be helping you with this influence at the beginning of the year to think about those 12th house areas and your 10th house of career, bringing those together in some way. So perhaps some spirituality influence in your career, perhaps some career influence going into that 12th house of retreat. Maybe it's even a chance to escape, to do a retreat to do some writing or artwork where you're away from the world, but it's contributing to your career. So think innovatively and think sensibly and realistically at the same time. Be authentic and be rebellious and practical too. So all the best for that, Gemini. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 calendar for Australia or Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Cancer, Sun, Moon or Rising on the 20th of January and affecting us into the new year for the next month or so, we have got Saturn with its sensible influence, Uranus with its drive for authenticity, even rebellion and awakening, happening in a sextile, which is a supportive aspect. Saturn is in your 9th house, Cancer, and it's been there for the last 2 or 3 years, bringing restrictions and even dullness and limitation to your traveling life, to your life of seeking meaning in the world, your spiritual principles and higher learning. So maybe there's been some blocks and delays there. And with the sextile to Uranus, well, Uranus has been really waking you up over the last 7 years, actually, in your 11th house of your long-term goals, the rewards and gains that you get from your career, whether that's your salary that you get from your career or other forms of rewards, and also large groups. So the 11th house is also about large groups or organizations that you belong to, friendship groups or other groups that are connected by some kind of social cause or some other connection between you. That has been very shaken up. You've been rebellious in that area over the last 7 years. You've been wanting to change things up, or change has been coming to you. There's been disruptions. With this final sextile between Saturn and Uranus, there's a chance to structure things in your 11th house or your 9th house of travel and higher learning for the future, to be innovative and well structured at the same time, to think for the long term with your long-term goals for life in ways that are authentic to you and progressive, but also pragmatic and realistic for the context that you exist in. So all the best for that, Cancer. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 copy of the calendar packed with information for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Leo, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Leo rising, the Saturn Uranus sextile, a supportive aspect for innovative change that's sensible and realistic, that is happening between your 8th house and your 10th house. The 8th house, Leo, is about shared resources with your partner, also about your deep underlying psychological layers and power and motivations, inner fears even, what drives you, and where you explore those through counseling and inner work, shadow work that you might do, or any kind of occult practices, divination practices. Okay, so Leo, Saturn has been restricting you in those areas. Perhaps some restriction has come to your partner's money, or to your access to your partner's money, or your access to retirement savings or other investments, or restrictions in how you do your shadow work, and you look at your inner psychological layers. But you've been restructuring in that area, and ultimately you'll feel better for that Saturn transit, especially with the helpful sextile from Uranus. So Leo, and over the last 7 years, you've had Uranus in your 10th house of your career, the work that you do in your world for status and reputation, and that could leave a legacy, a positive legacy, I hope, for the world. You have been so disruptive in that 10th house of your career over the last 7 years. Changes, awakening, the desire for authenticity, the desire to rebel in that area. Saturn and Uranus in that final sextile at the beginning of 2026 are going to be helping you to make some final innovations in that area of career that are sensible and well structured, and perhaps your partner's money might help you, perhaps that psychological work from the 8th house might help you, but it will be sensible and with an eye for the long term, prepared to do some hard work, and you can be building for a wonderful future career and legacy to leave. So all the best for that, Leo. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your copy of the 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Virgo, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Virgo rising, the Saturn-Uranus sextile is bringing us one last push and drive and supportive energy in your house, for all of us, but for you, Virgo, it's in your 7th house and your 9th house. So Saturn has been in your 7th house of partnership. Perhaps your partners over the last 2 to 3 years have been overly restricted, overly sensible, being a little bit bossy and authoritarian, and bringing restrictions and asking you to grow up in certain ways, or in your attitude to partnership, or perhaps just your partner themselves have been going through this restructuring time. So any areas of business partner, life partner, committed partner, any client work, therapy work, one-to-one relationships have been restructured. And Uranus from Taurus, your 9th house of travel, your 9th house of finding and seeking meaning in life, usually in fun and exploratory ways, higher learning, and even your spiritual beliefs, your belief systems have had Uranus going, that area has had Uranus going through it for the last 7 years, making you change things up, be innovative, awaken, want things to be more authentic and real, and there's been a rebellious energy there as well. With this final sextile between Saturn and Uranus, there's a chance to do something innovative for the future, some new learning perhaps of a university, higher learning nature, some kind of new spiritual practice, some kind of travel, or learning about other cultures, distant travel, foreign travel. And Saturn will be bringing the sensible structure to that. Perhaps you'll be doing it with a very grown-up adult partner, or perhaps you'll just have some kind of partnership involved where you can do things in your way and it's for the long term. Perhaps it's limiting, but it feels good in terms of being realistic and pragmatic for the. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. Enjoy the travel if that's what happens, or the higher learning. And go to sunandmooncalendar.com to... Sorry, my microphone just working there. There we go. Go to Sun and Moon Calendar to order your 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Libra, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Libra Rising, the Saturn Uranus sextile, where we are supported to do things that are sensible but innovative at the same time, that is happening between your 6th and your 8th houses. All right, so the 6th house, where you've had Saturn for the last 2 to 3 years, making you have to restructure your daily work routines, your routines for exercise and healthy eating and keeping things in order in your life. Daily admin, life admin. All right, you've had to be so much more sensible in those areas, and you've had some changes where it's been like authority has come in and told you how to do things. There's been restrictions and blocks and delays, and you've had to be an adult, okay, in your 6th house. All right. I'm a Libra rising, and I've had in my 6th house, challenges in my work life, and I haven't managed to break through to a really good, sensible working life, or a work life that's really fun for me. I also don't know what's going on with my exercise routines. They're all over the place, kind of, and there's been some restructuring there. And then we've got Uranus in the 8th house. All right, so the 8th house has had Uranus there for the last 7 years, bringing awakening, the desire for authenticity, a restructure, rebellious kind of energy in the 8th house, where it is your partner's money that you receive from other people, or large amounts of money that are in your life that you don't have ready access to, like investment funds, retirement savings, taxes even, but very much shared resources with your partner. The 8th house can also be about occult practices and digging underneath to your underlying psychological layers. So there's been disruption there, there's been awakening, there's been a rebellious energy, and there has been changes over the last 7 years. And with the final Saturn Uranus sextile at the beginning of 2026, there's a chance for some final changes to be made to any of those areas that I mentioned. Changes that are innovative but well structured, progressive, patient, and sensible, realistic to the context that you live in, but also wonderfully awakening and authentic. So all the best for that, Libra. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Scorpio Rising, we've got the Saturn Uranus sextile exact on the 20th of January, but affecting us through the beginning of 2026. And this is affecting your 5th and your 7th houses, Scorpio. So Saturn's been going through your 5th house of fun and romance and your children and your playful projects, your hobbies and your creative entrepreneurial ideas and projects and what you do for fun. Saturn has been restrictive there, being a downer, making you have to restructure to be sensible and pragmatic in any of those areas, to face up to being an adult in those areas. And at the same time, over the last 7 years, Uranus has been in your 7th house of partnership, shaking things up. Your partner has maybe been going crazy with rebellious energy and suddenly going out and buying a sports car. It could be like that midlife crisis kind of energy, changing things up in their life. Or it could be your attitude to partnership, your approach to partnership. And this can be business partners, life partner, committed relationships, or it can be any kind of one-to-one relationship. A lot of change over the last 7 years. Okay, and this final sextile between Saturn and Uranus is helping between those areas of romance and children and hobbies and partnership to bring about some kind of change that's sensible and pragmatic, realistic, and able to build for the future, to bring about greater innovation and authenticity, to take you to a new level in any of those areas of your life. So all the best for that, Scorpio. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Sagittarius Rising, the Saturn-Uranus sextile, which is active in the first part of 2026, is driving us towards innovative change. Well, it's supporting us, I should say, instead of driving. It's supporting us to innovative change that is sensible and lasting. And this is happening in your 6th and 4th houses. So the 4th house is where you've had Saturn going through for the last 2 or 3 years. It's your house of home, your family of origin, the house that you live in, properties that you own, the people that you live with, your ancestry even. Saturn has been a bit of a downer in that area for the last 2 or 3 years, bringing blockages, delays, restrictions, driving you to be practical and realistic and to restructure in sensible ways for future realistic development. And in your 6th house of your daily work, the work that you do on a daily basis, the tasks that you do in life, the service that you give to the world in practical ways, and your life admin, your healthy routines for eating and exercise and organizing your daily life, that has been undergoing great change and disruption over the last 7 years, with Uranus going through that 6th house and making you wake up and see things in a different way, bringing a desire for authenticity, a rebellious spirit even. Perhaps you've been speaking up in the workplace and making waves, and it wouldn't have always been easy because that disruptive energy of Uranus, people don't find it easy. It can be shocking and hard to adapt to. So you've had that influence in your 6th house for the last 7 years. There's some connection between these two with the Saturn-Uranus sextile that's going to help you with building something innovative and authentic, even rebellious, and that could be a great solution for the world or for your life in either of those areas. And with a Saturn influence and that positive vibe of the sextile, it could be really, supportive for it to be long-lasting, the change to be long-lasting, practical, sensible, and living within the rules and restrictions of the context that you're in. So all the best for that, Sagittarius. Good luck for the changes and the developments, and please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your copy of the 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Capricorn Rising, the Saturn-Uranus sextile is helping us all to be creative and innovative in sensible, realistic ways, living within the restrictions and rules of the context that we're in. And it's affecting us over the beginning of 2026. And for you, Capricorn, it's it's a connection between your third and your fifth houses. Your third house is the house of your neighborhoods, your community connections, how you move around your neighborhood, learning around your neighborhood, so local schools or local courses, hand skills, doing things with your hands, like craft work and repairing things, and you like doing sort of earthy things like that, Capricorn. And it's also about your relations, like your brothers and sisters and other relations. Okay, so Saturn's been in that area for the last 2 or 3 years, being a bit of a downer, but helping you to bringing restrictions and blockages and being very realistic. Saturn is your ruler, Capricorn, so you're pretty comfortable with that and that Saturn influence, but perhaps that third house of yours has been restricted over the last 2 or 3 years. Uranus, on the other hand, has been in your fifth house, bringing disruptive change and progressive ideas and innovation in your fifth house of romance, dating, children, sexuality, your playful hobbies, the things that you do because you love to do them, creative things that are heartfelt. Uranus has been changing all that up, and you probably haven't been able to settle into anything because things have been changing for your children or for any of those other areas, all right? Bringing about more authenticity and a rebellious energy that is with a desire for truth and innovation and progression, progressive ideas even, but it's disruptive and not very easy, especially because Capricorn, you like things to be steady, all right? But with that sextile energy, there's room to be innovative and creative and progressive, that is sensible with a Saturn influence, sensible and building for the future and realistic about the context that you're in, very practical. Okay, so all the best for that, Capricorn. Work with the energy, and please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Aquarius, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Aquarius Rising, the Saturn-Uranus sextile on the 20th of January is affecting us through the first part of 2026, allowing us to be innovative and progressive, which kind of stuff you love, Aquarius, in your second and your fourth house, all right? So your second house has had Saturn moving through it through the last 2 or 3 years, and that has been bringing restrictions and blockages and a very sensible, realistic, but a little bit of a boring attitude in your house, your second house of resources, your money, your earnings, your finances, your possessions, even your sense of self-worth, all right? So you've had to restructure in that area to rethink things and be really pragmatic and be a grown-up adult. And that's not always fun, of course. At the same time, over the last 7 years, you've had Uranus moving through your fourth house of home and family, properties that you own, the people you live with, your family of origin, your ancestry. There's been disruption there. Things have been really changing up in your home, and not always in a comfortable and easy way. Though Aquarius, you are pretty comfortable with change and rebellious change even. And that's been happening. That your modern ruler is Uranus, and that's been going through that house of home and family. With the Saturn-Uranus sextile, there's a chance to be innovative in a way that is sensible and realistic. Actually, Saturn is your ancient ruler. So Aquarius, this is really a special aspect for you. Your ancient ruler, Saturn, and your modern ruler, Uranus. They're giving you the chance to be innovative and progressive, as you love to do, in ways that can help humanity. That can help your situation in your money house and your house of home and family. And Be progressive and innovative in ways that are sensible and realistic, long-lasting, where you're prepared to work hard and follow the rules and the restrictions that are part of the context that you're in. So all the best for that, Aquarius. Enjoy that development and those innovative ideas and the good sense behind them over that beginning of 2026. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your copy of the 2026 calendar for Aotearoa New Zealand or for Australia. If you are Pisces, sun, moon or rising, but especially Pisces rising, and I am one of you, okay, the Saturn Uranus sextile is happening in your first house and your third house, Pisces. Okay, the sextile between these two is helping us to be innovative and progressive and to think outside the box, but in sensible, realistic ways, okay? Saturn has been going through our first house for the last 2 or 3 years. There have been restrictions and blockages to the way that we do things to our whole life, Pisces. And we've had to really grow up and be more of an adult, make hard decisions about what we can do and what we can't do, and be accepting of the reality, the practical realism that we need to face up to, being adults. I feel like I've grown up a lot and got older in a lot of ways, but grown up a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. At the same time, Uranus has been in our third house over the last 7 years, bringing new ideas, innovation, but also disruption and awakening and changes in that third house, which is about our siblings, our brothers and sisters, our other relations. My sisters have been changing things up and bringing about changes in the family over the last 7 years. But also the third house is about your neighborhood and community. It's about your connections in the neighborhood and how you move around it. So maybe changes to vehicles or your commute and how you get around. It's also about learning, so changes in schooling and connections with schools or local courses. And it can also be about small business, and that's where I've had some real innovative changes and things keep happening and it has not settled down. There's an opportunity, a final chance with Saturn and Uranus sextile affecting us through the beginning of 2026 to set about on innovative change in any of those areas I'm talking about. You yourself, Pisces, but also the small business, the neighborhood, the siblings, relations, learning. Innovative change that's realistic and practical, pragmatic, accepting the restrictions of the context that we live in. All right. So work with that, be progressive, think outside the box, and also be practical. So all the best for that, Pisces. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. If you are Aries, sun, moon or rising, but especially Aries rising, the Saturn Uranus sextile, the last one of 3, is affecting us through the beginning of 2026, encouraging us to be innovative but realistic. And this is happening for you, Aries, in your second house and your 12th house. So Saturn's been going through your 12th house of dreams and visions and retreat and escape over the last 2 or 3 years. You may have found that it's harder to dream and harder to sleep over the last 2 or 3 years, harder to escape from reality. Maybe you haven't had a chance to watch TV too much. Maybe you have been restricted in any of your indulgences like chocolate or coffee or alcohol or whatever it is, these little addictive habits that we have to escape from the world. Or maybe there's been restrictions or a need to be very sensible and realistic about other areas of life that are separate from the rest of the world. For example, something to do with hospitals or care homes or retreat areas. Okay. So there's been some restructuring going on in those areas, and that can also include your spiritual beliefs and your spiritual feeling of connection to the universe, Aries, and your creativity through that. So a need to restructure and be more sensible. And at the same time, over the last 7 years, you've had Uranus in your second house of your resources, your possessions, your earnings, your sense of self-worth in the world. Disruption, innovation, new ideas, and disruption. I'll say that again, changes and awakening. So what new ideas have you had? What new developments have you had over those 7 years? All right. There's this last chance with Uranus and Saturn and sextile affecting us through the beginning of the year to bring about some innovative change to your finances, to your spiritual practice, to your possessions and resources. Change that is progressive, but also realistic and pragmatic with an eye to the future and building for the future in sensible ways that are accepting of the real context that you live in. Okay. So all the best for that, Aries, and please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your copy of the 2026 calendar for Australia or for Aotearoa New Zealand. There we go, everyone. That is a roundup of sign by sign of how that Saturn-Uranus sextile might be affecting you. It's pretty exciting to be in the midst of that mini-trine formation between Pluto, Neptune and Saturn and Uranus. This is a big part of it, a step on the way. And then as we build towards July, so many of the other aspects come exact, like Pluto trying to Uranus and Neptune and Saturn sextile to the other ones. Anyway, I won't go into that now too much, but a lot of them become exact in July, and they will be in their new signs by then of Aries and Gemini, and of course Pluto is still in Aquarius. So I'll be telling you about that along the way, and for now, look at what you could be developing in your life that's innovative and progressive and thinking outside the box and also sensible. You're prepared to work hard and be disciplined and accept the reality of the context that you're in. So all the best, everyone. Please like, comment, subscribe if you like this video, and go to Sun and Moon Calendar to order your calendar. It's packed with information. It uses lunar months. It uses Australian birds and animals for Australia and New Zealand birds and animals for Aotearoa New Zealand, and the daily aspects and transits every day. There's so much in there. Anyway, bye for now, and all the best for that innovative and practical energy.